Hey everyone, welcome to today's Explainer, brought to you by Forge College. If you've been following along in our Final Quest multi-contract system module, which is part of the broader Solidity and Ethereum quests, well, congratulations, because this right here is a massive milestone. We are finally shifting gears from writing isolated standalone code to architecting completely interconnected systems. Now, in our last Explainer, we took a pretty deep dive into the Solana bug bounty ecosystem, right? And we saw just how wild and massive the volume of vulnerabilities really is. Just surviving that ecosystem is incredibly tough. But it begs the question, how do we actually prevent those catastrophic bugs in the first place? Because honestly, the second your smart contracts start talking to each other, the opportunity for spectacular and absolutely bank-breaking failures just multiplies. So here is our blueprint for today. We'll be looking at the multi-contract chaos, 3 dimensions of integration, the transactional dinner table, mapping contract orchestration, 5 advanced integration patterns, and finally, testing and inspection. Let's get right to it. All right, let's jump right into section 1, the multi-contract chaos, or as I like to call it, when contracts collide. You see, simple unit testing just isn't going to cut it anymore when you have independent contracts talking to each other. We basically have 2 main paths here. Think of a synchronous flow like a rigid steel beam. It's atomic. It's all or nothing. If one single part fails, the entire transaction just snaps and reverts immediately. On the flip side, an asynchronous flow is more like a flexible steel cable. It allows for eventual consistency, meaning partial successes actually happen on chain, but they require some really careful reconciliation later on to, balance out the tension. Moving on to section 2, 3 dimensions of integration. Basically, the architect's checklist. Before you even think about drafting a single line of Solidity code, every Web3 architect needs to evaluate 3 core pillars that literally govern the safety of your system. First up is call topology. Simply put, who calls whom? Are we talking about a direct call or some chaotic web of events? Second, failure semantics. What actually happens when a partial failure occurs? Do we just revert the whole thing, or do we adapt? And third, the upgrade surface. Basically, how easy is it going to be to swap out parts of your blueprint later without accidentally tearing the whole house down? Okay, section 3, the transactional dinner table. Let's talk about dropping plates. To make all these dry, technical concepts of atomicity a bit more relatable, picture a super busy restaurant where a waiter is trying to clear a massive table. Now, in a perfectly atomic transaction, either the entire table gets cleared perfectly all at once, or the waiter trips, all the plates crash to the floor, and we just pretend the whole thing never happened. We roll the transaction completely back. But in a non-atomic setup, well, maybe a few plates actually make it to the kitchen, but some remain on the table. And someone is going to have to come by later to clean up that mess. You really have to decide early on which kind of restaurant you're running. Next up, section 4, mapping contract orchestration. This is all about control flow and promises. Whenever we try to visualize the flow of data between contract nodes, it really helps to use what we call the promise chain mental model. So every time a cross-contract call is initiated, treat it like a promise. Now that promise is either going to resolve successfully or it's going to reject. The absolute golden rule here is that every assumption of success must be paired with a clear, deliberate plan for rejection. If it rejects, you better make sure your compensator functions step in to handle the fallout.
Which brings us to section 5. 5 advanced integration patterns. This is your core toolkit.
Whether you're building a tiny protocol or a massive ecosystem, there are 5 architectural tools you're going to rely on. First up, the Orchestrator. You can think of this as your central traffic cop. It enforces global invariance atomically and just keeps everything perfectly orderly. But fair warning, if this central contract runs out of gas during a massive transaction, congratulations, you've just created a single point of failure and your whole system grinds to a halt. Next, we have the facade, sometimes called an API gateway. I always like to compare this to the beautiful, sleek exterior of a modern building. It completely protects the users from having to see or directly interact with all the incredibly complex, messy plumbing inside. It just validates the inputs and then quietly delegates the actual heavy lifting to the internal modules. Then there's the event-driven, or pub-sub pattern. In this model, contracts simply emit events out into the void, and totally independent listeners react to them asynchronously. Now, this is absolutely amazing for high throughput and decoupling your system. But a quick heads up, it comes with a major headache. If an event gets dropped, or if a consumer listener is delayed, your system might temporarily fall completely out of sync. Pattern number 4 is pull over push. So instead of a contract automatically pushing funds to a user, the recipient actually has to actively step up and pull their funds. This is a total lifesaver, guys. It radically reduces gas costs for the protocol, and more importantly, it prevents malicious contracts from intentionally reverting the transaction when funds are pushed to them. And finally, the delegate or proxy pattern. This forwards the call context using delegate semantics. The beauty here is that it allows for totally seamless structural renovations to your logic later on. But, and this is a massive but, it requires terrifyingly strict discipline with your storage layouts. If you mess that up, you will literally corrupt your entire contract's memory. Not fun at all. So, putting all of that together, we get this, the ultimate architect's cheat sheet. It meticulously compares all 5 of these patterns across their mechanisms, their failure semantics, testing focus, and upgrade surfaces. When you sit down to actually build out your capstone project, keep this exact framework handy so you know exactly which tool to pull from your belt. Finally, Section 6, Testing and Next Steps. The final inspection. Look, you can draw up the most beautiful architectural blueprints in the world, but at the end of the day, developers have to actually prove the structure holds weight. So whatever pattern you end up choosing, you have to relentlessly write 3 types of tests. First, a happy path test, just making sure everything works perfectly. Second, a partial failure test, to see what happens when the waiter drops the plates. And third, an upgrade or migration test, just to ensure you can actually swap out parts later without completely breaking the system. I want to leave you all with one final thought today. When you look at your next smart contract project, which pattern is going to enforce your invariance without breaking the bank on gas? Because ultimately, it's all about balancing safety with efficiency. Thank you so much for joining me for today's Explainer. As always, this content was brought to you by Forge College. Make sure to head over to forge.college to truly master these multi-contract systems and dive even deeper into the wild world of Web3. Keep building, keep testing, and I'll catch you in the next one.